What paranormal activities have you witnessed? When I was 3, I told my parents that my great-grandmother came to me in a dream and said her feet didn't hurt anymore. I think she had problems due to diabetes or something. She had died that night. They received the call shortly after I told them. Not paranormal, but a spooky coincidence. Not sure if this is considered paranormal, but when I get fevers as a child, I would always, in my fugue and pain-infused state, hear a man counting in a very deep voice. He would count from 1 and up. As the numbers get larger, the voice gets louder and more intense. It started to get less frequent as I grew older, and now I do not experience it anymore. I've brushed it aside as a recurring nightmare until only recently I've learned that my sister would experience the exact same thing when she was younger as well. It's not the scariest thing, but it does send shivers down my spine trying to comprehend this. At least once every couple of years, I'll be walking around the apartment at night when it's dark. But I can still see enough to get around, and I'll have some shadow figure type thing suddenly come out of nowhere and get right up in my face, so close that I can feel like I'm breathing on it. It disappears immediately after. One night, my dad, and a friend of his was standing outside watching the stars. After a bit of watching, what appeared to be a shooting star made a sudden and sharp 90-degree turn, and then kept going for about 15 seconds, and then did an equally sharp and sudden 90-degree turn to disappear a few seconds later. We all saw the same thing, but none of us had a good explanation of what we saw. I've seen UFOs one time. It was in Texas, and I was about to take out the trash. I looked up at the sky and saw some stars shimmer, and then they started to move faster than satellites. After that, they moved around and started to show purple and green lights. I think counted at least 4 of them. I think this was freshman year of high school or late in middle school. I was pretty startled, so one ran in the house. My brother and I had a full conversation as kids with my mom's uncle. He died before we were born, so there's that. Not me. My little nephew used to sleep over at my grandma's a lot and would always talk about some weird man sitting in the corner of the room with a weird hat and some big bag filled with letters. When investigating further, my grandparents found that a mailman, one of the previous owners, committed suicide in the shack in their backyard. Story always gives me the creeps when thinking back on it. They used to have a recurring nightmare about skinny, tall man in a trench coat slowly walking towards me. Had his creepy cold face burned into my brain. Pretty common stuff. Years and years later, I was coming home from college, called the elevator, doors open, and I almost shit myself. That skinny, tall man in a trench coat is looking straight at me from the mirror. I don't know how a child's brain can predict exactly what they will look like in their youth, but yeah, shit was creepy.